Okay, so imagine this. You need a medical procedure, but the costs in your home country are just overwhelming.
Yeah, it's a situation a lot of people are facing these days.
It is, and it might have you thinking about options you hadn't considered before, like medical tourism,
Right.
specifically medical tourism in India.
We're seeing that more and more, and it's not just about cost either.
Really?
India has become a hub for high-quality healthcare.
Hmm. I've seen those headlines about heart bypasses costing a fraction of what they do in, say, the US or Canada.
Absolutely. Those kinds of procedures can be significantly cheaper in India, sometimes even 10 times less expensive.
Wow, it's a huge difference.
It is.
But I have to admit, the idea of traveling to another country for surgery is a little daunting. What makes India stand out as a destination for this?
Well, there are a few things. For one, India has really invested in its healthcare infrastructure.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, hospitals like Apollo Fortis, AIMS, they meet international standards.
Okay, so it's not just about saving money. The quality is actually comparable to what you'd find in developed countries.
That's right.
I see.
And it's not just the facilities themselves. Indian doctors are highly skilled. Many of them have trained or worked in top medical institutions abroad.
That makes sense. Bringing all that experience back home.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's back up a bit for anyone who's not familiar with the term. What exactly is medical tourism?
Simply put, it's traveling to another country for medical treatment. And it's not a new thing. People have been doing it for centuries, but what's changed is the scale and accessibility.
So how does India fit into all of this?
India has emerged as a major player in recent years.
And it's not just for elective procedures, right? People are going to India for complex surgeries, cancer treatment, even fertility treatments.
You got it. The range of treatments is incredibly diverse.
And I imagine part of the appeal is the focus on patient care.
Right. A lot of hospitals offer personalized services, comfortable accommodations, even travel arrangements. They really try to make the whole experience seamless.
That's appealing, especially
Right.
if you're facing a major procedure.
Absolutely.
But it's still a big decision to travel to another country for healthcare. What are some things people should consider before they take the plunge?
Well, research is key. You need to thoroughly vet the hospital and doctor you're considering. Look for accreditations from organizations like the Joint Commission International or the NABH in India.
And why are those important?
Those accreditations mean they meet strict quality and safety standards.
So it's like a seal of approval assuring patients that the facility is up to par.
Exactly. And don't be shy about asking for testimonials or reaching out to previous patients. Their experiences can give you some valuable insights.
Good advice. And I imagine there are logistical things to consider, like visas and travel arrangements.
You're right. India offers a special medical visa for tourists seeking treatment, which makes things easier, but you still need to plan well in advance, make sure you have all the necessary documentation, and understand the visa requirements.
And what about after the procedure? Recovery is a big part of the equation.
Absolutely. You need to think about post-treatment care. Will you stay in India to recover? Or do you plan to come back home right away? Either way, it's important to have a plan in place for follow-up care, whether it's in India or back home.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of the trip and the procedure itself,
Is.
but the recovery period is just as important.
Definitely. And one more thing, while English is widely spoken in medical settings in India,
Okay.
learning even a few basic phrases in Hindi or the local language can be helpful and enriching. You are immersing yourself in a new culture after all.
Right. It's all about making the most of the experience both medically and culturally.
Exactly.
But I have to ask, are there any downsides or things people should be cautious about when considering medical tourism in India?
Well, of course, while medical tourism offers incredible opportunities, it's not without its challenges.
Like what?
There's always a chance of unforeseen complications, and being in a foreign country can make navigating those situations more complex.
That's a valid concern. What steps can people take to mitigate those risks?
The most important thing is to make sure you have comprehensive travel insurance that specifically covers medical treatments abroad.
So they can provide financial protection in case of unexpected expenses.
Exactly.
Essential advice for anyone traveling abroad, especially for medical reasons.
And it's also important to remember that not all hospitals and clinics in India are created equal. Just like with any healthcare decision, thorough research and due diligence are key.
So it's about finding that balance between potential cost savings and ensuring quality and safety.
Exactly. It's a decision that shouldn't be taken lightly. But for many people, the combination of affordability, high-quality care, and the chance to experience a new culture makes medical tourism in India a really compelling option.
So we've talked about the what and the why of medical tourism in India, the factors driving its popularity, what people should consider before embarking on this journey. But what about some real-world examples? Do we have any stories from people who have actually gone through this experience?
We do. Our source material highlights a couple of really fascinating stories that bring this concept to life.
I always love a good story. Let's hear them.
One story features Sarah from the UK. She needed a hip replacement, but the cost in her home country was a staggering $50,000.
Wow.
She ended up traveling to India and having the surgery for just $7,000.
A $43,000 difference. That's incredible.
And it wasn't just the cost savings. She was really impressed by the quality of care she received at a leading hospital in Delhi.
So they were equipped with state-of-the-art technology and staffed by highly skilled surgeons.
Yes, exactly.
I'm curious, did Sarah have any reservations about going to India for such a major procedure?
Of course, initially she was hesitant, but after researching the hospital, reading testimonials from other patients, and consulting with her doctors both in the UK and in India, she felt confident in her decision.
It sounds like she did her homework.
She did, and her experience turned out to be extremely positive. Not only was her surgery successful, she raved about the personalized care she received at the hospital.
Like what?
They arranged everything from picking her up at the airport to her post-operative rehabilitation. They really made the whole process smooth and stress-free.
Wow, that's fantastic. They went above and beyond to make sure she was comfortable.
They did. And her story is just one example of how medical tourism in India is giving people access to high-quality, affordable care that they might not be able to afford otherwise.
It's really inspiring to hear how it's changing lives. What about the other story? You mentioned there were two.
The second story is about John from the U.S. He traveled to India for dental implants,
Oh, okay.
a procedure that can be quite expensive in the States.
Yeah, dental implants can be a significant investment. I can see why he would explore other options.
And he found a reputable clinic in Mumbai that offered the treatment at a fraction of the cost he would have paid back home.
Did he say anything about the clinic itself?
He was very impressed by the clinic's modern facilities and the expertise of the dentists.
So he got the treatment he needed and probably still had some money left over. Did he do anything else while he was in India?
He did. He actually combined his recovery period with a trip exploring Rajasthan.
Wow.
He visited ancient forts, colorful markets, even took a camel ride through the desert.
What a fantastic way to combine medical treatment with a cultural adventure.
It is. And his story highlights another aspect of medical tourism in India, the opportunity to experience the country's rich culture and history while you're receiving medical care.
It's like a two-for-one deal.
Yeah.
You get the treatment you need, and you get to explore a new and fascinating part of the world.
Precisely. And these are just two examples among many. It's clear that medical tourism in India is more than just a trend. It's a phenomenon that's transforming healthcare globally. What about the future, though? Where do you see medical tourism in India heading?
That's a great question. Is this just a temporary surge, or is it something that's here to stay?
Well, the future of medical tourism in India looks very bright. In fact, the government is actively promoting the industry through initiatives like the Heal in India campaign.
Heal in India, what's that all about?
The goal is to establish India as a global leader in healthcare services, attracting even more medical tourists in the years to come.
So they're not just resting on their laurels. They're actively investing in this sector.
Exactly. They're putting resources into infrastructure, technology, and training to further improve the quality of care and attract a wider range of patients.
It's not just about government initiatives either, right?
You're right. There are constant advancements in medical technology, increased international collaborations, and a focus on improving patient care, all contributing to India's growing prominence in this field.
So it sounds like medical tourism in India is poised for continued growth.
I believe so. As more people learn about the quality and affordability of healthcare in India, and as the country continues to invest, I think we'll see medical tourism become an even more integral part of the global healthcare landscape.
It's fascinating to see how this industry is evolving. It seems like medical tourism in India is becoming less of a niche thing and more of a mainstream option.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's not just about cost savings anymore. People are drawn to India for the quality of care, the expertise of the doctors, and the unique blend of modern and traditional medicine that the country offers.
So it's about expanding choices and empowering people to take control of their healthcare decisions.
Absolutely. And as the world becomes more and more interconnected, and as healthcare costs keep rising in many developed countries, I think we'll see medical tourism continue to grow and evolve in the coming years.
It's definitely a trend worth watching.
Yeah.
But for our listener who's intrigued by this possibility, where do they even begin? What are some resources or next steps they can take to explore medical tourism in India further?
The internet is a great place to start. You can find websites dedicated to medical tourism in India with listings of hospitals, doctors' treatments, and even testimonials from previous
And
patients.
I imagine there are forums and online communities where people share their experiences.
Absolutely. Connecting with others who have already gone through the process can be incredibly helpful. They can offer insights and tips that you won't find anywhere else.
So do your research, connect with others, and weigh the pros and cons to make an informed decision.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to contact hospitals and clinics directly. Many of them have international patient departments that can answer your questions and guide you through the process.
So take that first step, gather information, and explore the possibilities.
That's it. And who knows, your next medical journey might just take you to incredible India.
It's certainly an adventure worth considering. Now, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive, but there's so much more to explore.
There is. We've talked about the general landscape of medical tourism in India, but we haven't delved into the specific types of treatments people are seeking and what makes those treatments so sought after.
That's a great point. There's a whole world of specialized care and cutting-edge treatments happening in India that we need to uncover.
Exactly. And we'll also look into the cultural and social aspects of medical tourism, the challenges and opportunities it presents, and what the future holds for this rapidly growing industry.
So if you're intrigued by the possibilities of medical tourism in India, stick with us. We'll be back to dive even deeper into this fascinating topic.
Right after the break.
So before the break, we were talking about medical tourism in India and some of the reasons behind its growth.
And we even heard from some people who've actually experienced it firsthand.
We did, and those stories were fascinating. But now I'm curious about this specific treatments that are drawing people to India. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation, is it?
Not at all. India offers a really wide range of medical services. They cater to all sorts of needs.
So where do we even begin? What are some of the most popular treatments?
Well, cardiac care is a big one. India's become a global leader in cardiac surgery.
Really?
Yeah, things like bypasses, valve replacements, even heart transplants. They're doing them with some impressive success rates.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What's driving that success? Is it the technology, the expertise, or a combination of both?
It's a bit of both. I'd say Indian hospitals have invested a lot in cutting-edge technology for cardiac care. Advanced imaging systems, minimally invasive surgical tools, even robotic-assisted surgery.
So more precise procedures, faster recovery times, fewer complications.
Exactly. They're not just keeping up with advancements, they're really at the forefront.
Wow, so they're really pushing the boundaries in cardiac care.
They are. And of course, the expertise of the surgeons is key too.
Right.
Many of them have trained at top institutions all over the world, bringing back those latest techniques and best practices.
So it's that combination of technology and skilled hands. What other areas are seeing a surge in medical tourism?
Orthopedics is another big one. India has become a popular destination for things like joint replacements, hip and knee surgeries, spine procedures, sports medicine, you name it.
I can see why. As the world's population ages, these kinds of procedures are becoming more and more common.
Absolutely. And India is meeting that demand with a combination of affordability and expertise. They've set up specialized orthopedic centers focused on specific areas like joint replacement or spine surgery.
And they offer the whole package from diagnosis to rehabilitation.
That's right. It's not just about getting the procedure done, it's about the whole patient journey and making sure they get the best possible outcome.
It makes sense. And they're incorporating those innovative approaches too, right? Like minimally invasive techniques and personalized rehab plans.
Exactly. All to improve patient satisfaction and shorten those recovery times.
We've talked about cardiac care and orthopedics, but I'm also hearing a lot about cosmetic surgery in India.
Oh, yeah. That's a booming area. People are traveling to India for all sorts of cosmetic procedures, facelifts, rhinoplasty, liposuction, breast augmentation, you name it, and often at a fraction of the cost compared to, say, the US or Europe.
I bet the combination of affordable prices and skilled surgeons is a big draw. But it's not just about aesthetics, is it?
No, you're right. Some people are looking for reconstructive procedures after accidents or illnesses.
And they're finding that India offers high-quality care at a price they can actually afford.
Exactly. It's about restoring confidence and well-being, whether it's through cosmetic enhancements or reconstructive surgeries.
It's interesting that you mentioned that it's not just about quick fixes.
Right, a lot of these clinics emphasize a more holistic approach.
How so?
They combine surgical procedures with non-invasive treatments and lifestyle modifications.
So it's about creating lasting results.
Exactly. And speaking of comprehensive approaches, we can't forget about cancer treatment.
That's a whole other ball game, right? Cancer treatment is so complex, it often needs a team of specialists.
It does. But India has made some big advancements in oncology. They've got these state-of-the-art cancer centers offering the full range of treatments, surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, immunotherapy, the works.
That's good to hear. Are they using any cutting-edge technologies or therapies that really set them apart?
Oh, definitely. India's on the leading edge of adopting advanced cancer treatments. Things like targeted therapies, precision medicine, and proton beam therapy.
And what's special about proton beam therapy?
It allows for more targeted radiation with fewer side effects.
So they're not just catching up to global standards, they're actually pushing the envelope.
Exactly. They're attracting patients from all over who are seeking those cutting-edge treatments and personalized care plans.
This is incredible. So India is becoming a hub for both medical innovation and those advanced treatments.
Right.
What other areas are they doing well in?
Fertility treatment is another one.
Right, fertility treatments can be such a financial burden for couples, especially in countries where it's not covered by insurance.
You're telling me, and India's become a major destination for what they call fertility tourism.
Oh.
They offer all sorts of treatments, IVF being one of the most popular at a much lower cost than many Western countries.
So it's giving couples hope and options that they might not have been able to afford otherwise.
Exactly. They're combining advanced technology with the expertise of reproductive endocrinologists.
And achieving those high success rates.
Right, making parenthood a reality for many who maybe thought it was out of reach.
These stories are really inspiring. It's amazing how medical tourism in India isn't just about access to affordable care, but is also pushing boundaries in medical innovation. But we haven't even talked about what really makes India unique in the world of healthcare.
You're talking about those ancient healing traditions.
Exactly. India is the birthplace of Ayurveda yoga, all those holistic practices that have been around for centuries.
Right.
And now it seems like those ancient traditions are having a comeback
They are.
as people look for more natural and holistic approaches to healthcare.
It's an interesting blend of old and new. You know, India might be embracing cutting-edge medical technology, but they also recognize the value of their traditional healing practices.
So it's not just about treating the symptoms, it's about getting to the root cause of illness and achieving overall well-being.
That's the idea. And a lot of medical tourists are incorporating these practices into their treatment plans, either as their main approach or alongside conventional medicine.
So it's kind of like a holistic healthcare ecosystem where people can choose the path that resonates with them.
Exactly. And this approach to healthcare is drawing people from all over the world who are seeking a more balanced and integrated approach to healing.
It's amazing to see how India is blending modern medicine with that ancient wisdom to create something truly unique.
It is. It really speaks to the diversity of India's healthcare landscape. Whether you're looking for those advanced surgical procedures, specialized treatments, or those holistic healing practices, India seems to have it all.
It's remarkable. But with all these advancements and the influx of medical tourists, what are the implications for India itself? How is this industry changing the country?
Well, on a national level, medical tourism is a huge economic driver for India.
It's bringing in money, creating jobs, and boosting the healthcare sector as a whole.
Absolutely. It's putting India on the map as a global healthcare destination, attracting investment, fostering innovation in the field. And it's not just about the economics either.
Right.
Medical tourism is contributing to the development of specialized medical infrastructure and expertise in India, which benefits everyone, both local and international patients.
So it's a win-win in many ways. Patients get access to affordable, high-quality care, and India benefits economically.
Exactly. It's a really interesting example of how globalization and healthcare are intersecting in this day and age.
It really is. But as with any rapidly growing industry, there are always those challenges and considerations that need to be addressed.
You're right. As medical tourism keeps growing in India, it's important to make sure that the benefits are shared fairly, that quality of care remains a top priority, and that this unique mix of modern and traditional medicine is preserved.
It's about finding a balance between economic growth and sustainable healthcare practices.
Exactly. And that's an ongoing conversation that needs to involve everyone, policymakers, healthcare providers, and the communities themselves.
It's definitely complex and fascinating. And while we've covered a lot, I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
We have. There's still so much to explore, like the cultural nuances of seeking healthcare in India or the ethical questions around medical tourism.
And what about the future? What trends and innovations are shaping the future of medical tourism in India and the world?
Now, that's a great question, and one that deserves its own deep dive.
I agree. And that's exactly what we'll be doing in the next part of our episode. We'll be looking at the future of medical tourism, exploring those emerging trends, the potential challenges, and the incredible opportunities that lie ahead.
It's a journey worth taking.
So if you're curious about the future of healthcare and how medical tourism might shape it, stick around. We'll be back to wrap up our deep dive into medical tourism in India. We've really explored a lot about medical tourism in India, haven't we? From its rise to the incredible treatments they offer.
We have. We've seen how it's changing lives and blending ancient traditions with modern medicine.
We have. But, like with anything, there's always more to the story. Deeper layers to uncover.
You're absolutely right. Medical tourism has a lot of potential, but it also raises some ethical and societal questions that we need to think about.
Okay, so let's talk about those. What are some of the ethical concerns when we talk about medical tourism in India?
Well, one concern is the possibility of exploitation. There's a risk that some people, especially those traveling from wealthier countries, might be overcharged or even recommended treatments that they don't actually need.
So basically taking advantage of people seeking affordable care in a foreign country.
Unfortunately, it can happen, which is why it's so important to do your research and choose reputable hospitals that are transparent about their pricing and follow ethical practices.
Transparency is important in any healthcare setting,
Right.
but it's even more crucial when you're in a new country.
Exactly.
Are there any other ethical dilemmas we should be aware of?
Another concern is the potential strain on India's healthcare system itself. The influx of medical tourists can be good for the economy, but it could also divert resources away from the local population.
So while it brings in money and creates jobs, there's a balance to be struck to make sure it doesn't negatively impact healthcare access for people living in India.
Right. It's about finding a sustainable model that works for everyone. And that means smart policies that ensure the growth of medical tourism doesn't compromise the needs of the local healthcare system.
It's a complex situation, for sure. Shifting gears a bit, what about the social impact of medical tourism in India? How's it affecting society as a whole?
Well, one positive outcome is that it promotes cultural exchange and understanding.
What way?
Well, you have people from all over the world coming to India for treatment.
Right.
And that leads to interactions between people from diverse backgrounds, fostering a sense of global connection.
And people traveling for treatment bring back new perspectives and experiences that can help break down stereotypes.
Absolutely. It's all about building bridges between cultures.
Are there any potential downsides socially, though?
One concern is that the focus on catering to medical tourists, particularly those who can afford high-end services, might actually worsen existing inequalities in India's healthcare system.
Meaning that access to the best care becomes even more tied to your financial resources.
Exactly. And it highlights the need for policies that ensure everyone has access to quality healthcare regardless of their income or whether they're a tourist.
So again, it's about finding that balance, right? Making sure the benefits of medical tourism don't come at the expense of the local population.
Exactly. It's a conversation that needs to involve everyone, from policymakers to healthcare providers to the communities they serve.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into medical tourism in India. What's the key takeaway for our listeners?
I think the main message is that medical tourism is complex, it has huge potential, but it also presents us with some tough questions about ethics and its impact on society.
It's great that it empowers individuals to make choices, but we also need to be mindful of the bigger picture.
Exactly. And for anyone thinking about medical tourism, remember to do your research, choose wisely, and be aware of the broader context.
Make informed decisions that meet your needs while considering the bigger picture.
Well said. India is definitely a leader in affordable and innovative healthcare. But remember, your journey is unique, and finding the right path for you, whether it's at home or abroad, is what truly matters.
That's a great point. And on that note, we wrap up our deep dive into medical tourism in India. We hope you found it insightful and that it encourages you to keep exploring this fascinating and ever-changing world of healthcare.